Hello animals! I've been doing a lot of voice training today, so I decided it was time to make a video again. I also noticed I have playlists that I had no idea existed. One of them was a challenge and tag playlist, which only has 11 videos on it. Only 2 of them are actual challenges, so I'm gonna do one of them so that I can delete videos off this stupid, useless playlist. Oh man, you gotta be kidding me. This isn't even the real first time tag. This is a trans edition first time tag. Okay, I guess I'm doing this. When was your first T-shot? First time I did testosterone, I was 19, I think. I can never really remember. I don't know why. Because I'm 26 now, so that was like 7 years ago that I first did it. I used to get them done at the clinic, and I wanted to wait until I was 19 because, that just sounded like a better idea. I wanted to wait until I was actually out to people. This was a time back when they would transition the crap out of minors. Legally, you were allowed to transition without your parents knowing. The therapist I was seeing at the time said that I could do it without my parents knowing, and I was like, no, we're not doing that. I might have even been 17 at the time, which is really psychotic to think that it was even an option for me to go down that path without my parents even freaking knowing about it. That is actually insane. But yeah, I wanted to wait a long time. I wanted to transition since I was 14. I was very depressed and I was very isolated and chronically online at the time. And I was just absolutely led down that path by the internet, the algorithms, and the algorithms aren't as bad as they are now. Things have changed. The algorithms are a lot more geared to anything you look at once now. There's a lot of talk about cracking the egg and whatnot, and it's such a weird way to trivialize making fun of people for supposedly being trans and denying it, which that's a really odd thing to point out about a person. I used to get all my shots done at the clinic for I think a year or 2, and then I started doing it myself, but I did it only subcutaneously because intramuscular has risks. So I just didn't want any freaking risks. What the hell would the point be? Your first time swimming as a boy. Well, I always wore a shirt in the pool when I decided that I was trans, so I'd been doing that since around age 16, I think. And it was just, a muscle shirt and then some swim shorts. I never got top surgery, and I'm very thankful for that, because once I transitioned, I was like, okay, well, half my size is gone, and it's still gone for whatever freaking reason. I've been detransitioned for a few months now, and it's still not back. They're still not back. I'm kind of pissed about it. I kept being afraid my whole transition that if any point I went off testosterone, within a month, it would all come back, and my entire body would look different, but that doesn't happen. I've been on a low dose for the last year or 2 because of my hair loss. This is a comb over. I tend to show this off in every video now, but that is really what happens when you go on testosterone, and all your uncles on your mom's side are bald, and no one ever warns you about that. That does not really get discussed at all. Yeah, first time swimming as a boy. I did that all the time. It was not exactly that special because no one read me as a boy. I remember this one time, before I'd transitioned, we were in this pool at a hotel or an RV park, and there was this child, and he was like, I want the toy that boy has, because I was carrying this underwater skateboard, which is also great for camping, because you can sleep directly on that thing. It is the exact length of my spine, and it is the most comfortable thing I have ever brought with me for camping. His mom laughed, and she said, that's not a boy, that's a girl. Those were entirely boy clothes. But my body was entirely a girl body. But yeah, I've never taken my shirt off in the pool, obviously. I always kind of wanted to, but what is the point? I just didn't see a reason for that because, I don't know, I just always wanted a man to touch my boobs. And if you don't have them and you have great big ugly scars instead, there is nothing to touch. And I was always attracted to the trans guys I saw online, and I thought, if I get a trans boyfriend with top surgery, I would rather a million times have one that actually had the boobs so I can actually grab them. That would be sick. Love feminine men entirely. Love them so much. If something could have been there, why would you take it away? Well, it never looks normal. It always looks concave as hell. They take way too much off, and you're just left with a frickin' concave rib cage and some big frickin' ugly scars. So I never saw the point in that, actually. First kiss as a trans man. The year was 2022, and I was at this Wigs and Onesies dance. So I was really enthused for that because since the point of hair loss, I always had this synthetic lace front wig that I had cut a section of the lace off, and I put it on a headband, and I would just wear that as my bangs, and I would pin it back in a specific way where you couldn't really tell as much that it was a part of a synthetic wig because it was exactly the same color as my hair. I was really down with that, and there was this chick on Ecstasy telling me all about how she loved my energy. I danced very well. We danced together. She was wearing this cool freaking pastel purple wig. Once we exited the place and we were all waiting for our rides and everything, I was like, "Can I have a little kiss?" And she actually straight up just gave me the shortest kiss, but it was the first kiss of my life. I was like, this is sick. This is freaking awesome. I thought it was very cool. I don't think she was attracted to me. I think she just liked the way I danced. But I made it work. I made it happen. First haircut as a trans guy. I never really did that because since the age of 13 I've been cutting my own hair. I actually filmed it. It was titled Gender Fluid Haircut, which I don't agree with now. Don't agree that that is a designation that anybody should be shooting for when they could just say they're androgynous and not be making stuff up. I don't believe in that whole non-binary thing anymore. Haven't for the last 5 years. Yeah, you can watch that video. It's still up. I just wanted a better haircut and a more gender-neutral haircut, which obviously still was very feminine, but, you know, it was shorter. But I never wanted that short of hair anyway. I did that when I was a child. I regretted it because it just looked freaking ugly. I never really liked short hair. I just wanted a short haircut because it made me a boy. I was 8 years old. I just really freaking wanted a boy haircut because obviously wanted to be a freaking boy. I had a brother. This happens to every girl at some point in time where you just want to be like a boy and be like the boys in your class and everything, and that's a completely normal documented phenomenon. Pretty much every girl alive goes through that. And the lady pulled my hair back and cut my ponytail, pulled it in front of my face and was like, "My boyfriend's calling me, but I'm in the middle of a video, so he's gonna have to wait." My hair was always long, and my mom was thinking that I would regret the haircut because I just always loved having my hair long. She did first just a normal straight off haircut, and she was like, "Well, do you still want to go through with the rest of the haircut?" My mom was looking at me all anxious like, Ugh. But I was like, yeah, this is what I wanted. This is what I came here for. The plans don't exactly change just because everybody else doesn't want me to do what the hell I'm doing. And and so, yeah, I got that done. It just didn't look right on me. I don't remember what kind of cut it was at the time, but pretty much every boy's haircut in the 2000s looked the same, unless you got that chipmunk thing or the mohawk thing. But my parents thought those were, you know, white trash, so I couldn't even get those haircuts, even though I really wanted them. Yeah, the trans joy from that moved off pretty quickly, you know. I was mistaken as a boy a couple different times, and I loved it. Then eventually, you know, I liked a guy. And I was like, well, I gotta make a choice between the subtle earrings or the pretty earrings. And I was like, yeah, I really just want to be a girl again. And I want to look good. And my girl clothes don't really work with the short haircut. None of this is glamorous and cute as I want it to be. But yeah, I regretted the crap of that haircut. I made fun of my old photos for years on end after that. And my mom was like, yeah, this is ridiculous. We're never doing that again because you just hated it so much. And that should have been a sign that I wasn't trans, you know? But people didn't talk about trans kids back then, and I'm very glad, because that would have pushed it even earlier for me. First public bathroom experience. That is a terrible way to phrase that question. We're all usually like one when we go to a public bathroom for the first time. My first experience using the men's washroom, I was also 16, maybe 17. My counselor just said, yeah, it's okay to use the washroom that you want to use, because I can't remember if Bill C-16 was out yet, but that's basically about not making fun of somebody for being trans and not excluding people for being trans, but it also has a anti-free speech element where you can't say a damn thing about somebody being trans, so it's not that great of a bill. I was told that it was all well and good to use the boys' washroom. I used to wear this leather jacket that was a crop leather jacket with a buckle. It was fake leather, and I got it in garage all the way in another city. It had a floral lining. It was such a girl jacket, right? But I've been wearing that thing since I was like 14. It was just the thing I wore daily because it kept the rain off me. You know, I still had that ridiculous jacked up haircut where it was a little shorter than this, and then just 2 strands of hair going down as long as I could. Yeah, I went in there. My hair was all dyed and stuff, and I'm pretty sure I was wearing eyeshadow because every damn day I was wearing eyeshadow and eyeliner and probably some degree of lipstick. And of course the masculine contouring to top off the look, to undo what I loved so much about my makeup. Ridiculous. You know, the trans guy with the glittery eyeshadow on. Yeah. There was many signs I shouldn't transition, and that was definitely one of them. This dude freaking looked at me once, and he was like, "This is the boys' bathroom," and I was like, "Yeah." And I just walked through and used the toilet. And my backpack was also this tiny little freaking pink thing. It had a car on it. It was actually Deadmau5's, he called it the Ferrari because it was a Nyan cat on the car. And I had actually cut that out on a stencil and done a print on my bag. Yeah, that was my trans guy look. Your first bad experience as a transsexual gender being. I guess I can say that I remember my brother's friend sitting in the living room and somebody said something about me being a girl, and I was like, actually, I'm not a girl. I'm a demi-boy. Which obviously I don't agree with now, even being a gender designation, and nobody even says that anymore because they've realized it's a bunch of BS. This guy said to me, well, you know, what, you're half boy, what is the other half? And I said to him, well, the other half is gender void. That is just admitting you have depression. That is not a gender designation. That is ridiculous. And he just kind of laughed. What do you mean? So one half's boy, and then what's the other half, though? And I'm like, it's nothing. And he just laughed because he just did not get it. He was a hockey guy and not really used to rolling around people that were severely socially isolated and depressed. And so he hadn't heard of any of that nonsense. But you know that those are always the realest type of people. And that they're always, you know, good to everybody else, and that they know what the hell's going on in life and how the hell people work. I laughed because it was funny. But yeah, there were lots of interactions where people doubted on my gender when I told them that, or were confused about it. And they entirely had the right to be, because it was a bunch of BS. You could tell by the way I even looked, my preferred way of looking, that, you know, the transition wasn't going to last long. But really nothing bad happened to me because of being trans, because no one even knew I was trans. They just thought I was that weird depressed girl. First, second, or third base as a trans guy? What the hell did that question even mean? First time being called a brother or a son. That must have been only a couple of years ago, because nobody ever really gendered me correctly until freaking recently, until they realized it was actually going to stick, really, because I was always just an absolute basket case and freaking always getting pissed about somebody calling me a girl or a woman or she or by my birth name or anything. I spent so much of my life being pissed about that, and nothing ever really changed. But I also wasn't out to my dad for a long time. I came out to my mom at 14. I came out to my dad at graduation at 17. So the thing my mom did for that to, you know, be supportive to me was just refer to me neutrally and say, this is my child. And that was pretty much the way things were for a bunch of years. Even once I was out to my dad, she would still just say, this is my child, and things like that. I didn't get called brother until when Gates came into the picture, my brother's girlfriend. She has been with him for 5 years, so that would have been the year of 2021. And back then I looked extremely feminine. My hair was really long, and it was always a mess because I didn't know how to oil it yet. And it was probably 3 different colors the time she met me, and I was probably wearing some sort of really tight, girly clothes, because my ex-best friend used to give me a lot of clothes that she was giving away, and a lot of other people in the apartments would also be giving away clothes, so I would get to look through the stuff that other people didn't want and just have it all for free. Obviously, I took the women's clothes because I liked the women's clothes, and they were what fit me, and I was like, clothes are gender neutral, which is not a fact. You can wear whatever the hell clothes you want and still be a man or a woman, but there's still men's clothes and women's clothes. There's still clothes that are designed for the male and female bodies. I think I've been called a son. It's mostly my mom's coworkers just call me her son. And obviously I don't talk like this at work because no one knows I'm detransitioned. Only my friends know that. But yeah, my dad never called me son. My grandparents still call me she. Maybe they call me by my birth name, I can't remember, but I'm never in the room when they're talking about that sort of thing. I was along for a job, I think 2 years ago. I was painting the outside of a house with my dad. Obviously, I show up in, shitty male clothing that I was okay with getting paint on. And my dad's still like, yeah, this is my daughter. And obviously, I had a freaking mustache and everything. And he explained that I was trans to this random woman he was doing the job for. And I thought that was honestly so freaking awkward, but I wasn't really there. I think I was doing the job when he was saying that. I found that just so incredibly awkward that he would bring that up, but I don't know, that's just the way he does things, I guess. Yeah, he's always had trouble with when people change their names, and he's known a lot of native people that have changed their names, so yeah, he's been through that a lot with them. That's a native tradition. That's what he blames on it being hard to change my gender and name in his mind or whatever. And for several years, he just called me kiddo. And several times, even now, he still calls me kiddo. And he never called me that before when I was an actual child. He just called me that once I changed my name because he just didn't want to forget that I'd changed my name, or else I would have gotten really pissed about it. Because that's just who I was at the time. I was an absolute fricking basket case. I can't believe that anyone ever dealt with me, really. First formal event where you didn't have to wear a dress. Technically, you never have to. That's the thing about living in the actual fricking real world, is that you don't have to wear the exact thing that everyone around you is wearing all the time. Because unless you live in fricking Utah, you're legally allowed actually to just fricking wear some pants, and no one's gonna throw a fricking fit. I guess the first time I was not wearing a dress for an event, it was obviously a funeral. 2015, 2016, can't remember. And nobody threw a fricking fit about it because it was a damn funeral. And I obviously had a type of haircut where you would expect me to be wearing something that wasn't extremely feminine, because I never had a fashionable short haircut. I only had short haircuts that were fashionable to me because I was emo and chronically online. And I cut my own hair, so sometimes that screwed up the cut no matter what kind of cut I wanted. Relatives I hadn't seen in many years, no one focused on what I was wearing because we're in Canada, we're polite. These people are very old. They're not, gonna be pissed about somebody's kid wearing clothes that they didn't expect. Maybe I even wore a bow tie, but nobody really commented on it unless I had a really good outfit on. No one commented on it at all in front of me. But I never went back to dressing like a woman for formal events once I decided I was trans, except for this one time. My cousin was there, and she was really little at the time. I think she was 7, so I must have been about 14. I just dressed up. I felt like I was doing drag, and I wore a headband and, clothes that I actually would wear, but paired with men's clothing generally. And I just put all the women's clothes together, and I was like, ha ha ha, I'm doing drag. Which is so embarrassing to look back on. If you're born female and you're wearing women's clothing, that's not drag. Like, trust me, it is not. Apparently, those are all the questions. The original video was 8 minutes long. This one is definitely not. You know, it never is with me. This video is 35 minutes long. I'm gonna call my boyfriend, and I'm gonna edit my video the whole time I'm talking to him, because I like doing that. It's surprisingly easy, but that's because he doesn't talk very much. So yeah, I was glad to make this video and get it all out of the way. Squeak, squeak, animals. Have a very epic time and wiggle your tongues. Eyes out.